Hello fellow Gateballers, welcome back to another video in which we'll be exploring Article 9, which is in chapter number 6, being called The Game, and Article 9 being the title as you can see on your screen now, Play and Rights as a Stroker. Right, so before we start, we're going to make a reference, or mention, shall I say, that this series is proudly endorsed by Gateball Australia, and that all figures are supplied and used from the World Gateball Union's publications. Moving along, we're going to jump right into it, and today I haven't got any figures for you, but I've blown up the images of the rules themselves, and we're going to go through them one by one. And we're going to discuss them and make reference to them as we go along. So we can see clause 1 here says play and rights as a stroker. Number 1, the stroker is the player who has been called to stroke. Relatively straightforward. When the referee calls the number next in the playing order, say player number 5 has been played, then the referee will either call, depending on which of the bilingual languages he's using, either Japanese or English that the World Gateball Union recognizes, he will either say ball number 6, since 5 just played, ball number 6, or rokuban. Rokuban being roku meaning 6 in Japanese, and ban referring to the ball or a spherical shaped object. So that is the person who is the stroker. Now, it's important to know who the stroker is, as there are many rules which relate directly to the stroker at the time. We can see that the first little dot point under there says that the stroker can enter the court to play. Now, this is really important. No one other than the stroker, which is the player that has been called to play, is permitted to enter the outer or inner field. That's incredibly important, and we need to remember that. Number 2, the rights as a stroker begin and end as follows. Important to know when it ends as well, so we really need to pay attention to that. For when it ends will determine in certain cases, what types of fouls can be committed or not. Number 1, the rights as a stroker begin when a player is called to stroke. Yep, we've got that from that first little rule there. Number 2, the rights as a stroker end at the following time points. So it can be any one of these two things. Number 1, after the stroke, when the stroker has not gained the right for a continuous stroke, they really should put for continuous stroke, that really should put an A there. And you can see that's in reference to Article 12, Clause 3, which we'll be going through in Article 12, Clause 3. But to briefly explain it here, it means that they either have not completed a successful spark, remembering that you do not gain a continuation stroke from making a touch. You gain a continuation stroke from completing a successful spark. And that's also in relation to going through any gate, which is next in order, obviously. So if ball 6 is for gate 2, if it passes through the gate, it will be given the right for a continuous stroke. Moving on, it says, nor the right to spark, which means they have not made a successful touch, in other words. And all the balls inside the inner field have stopped making valid moves. And it's important to know what valid moves are, which we will discuss slightly after. I believe it's the next video in this series. Yep, and that's basically it. The second one is also very important, and it says when a stroker carries out a move that constitutes a foul play. So should you commit a foul, any of the fouls, whether that be a sparking foul or a stroking foul or a ball touch foul, or perhaps even a time over foul, that marks the end of your turn, or I really shouldn't say the end of your turn. It signifies that your right as a stroker has ended. Right, moving on to number 3. It says a stroker must stroke or spark within 10 seconds after the referee starts counting 10 seconds. Right, now I'm pretty sure that that's one of the general rules that is explained to people coming into Gateball, that you must play within 10 seconds. Well, a lot of people don't quite know exactly when that 10 seconds either starts or when the referee should stop counting the 10 seconds in order to start a new 10-second count. So we're going to read these 3 little dot points here, which state when the 10 seconds begin. And it says, Number 1, when a stroker is called to stroke next. We all know that one. When the number is called, the moment the number is called, the referee starts counting 10 seconds. Number 2, when the right for continuous stroke is gained. Passing through a gate or completing a successful spark would constitute, and remember, it's completing a successful spark is what gains you the continuous stroke. So that would be a new 10 seconds. And it's from the point at which the ball stops, not the point at which the actual action occurs. It's important to remember that. And the very last one is when the right to spark is gained. Now it's a little bit annoying, because I think this rule would be written better if it would be when a touch is made. But we run into the problem of a successful touch. In order for a successful touch to be made, the balls have to stop as in balls, so that, or make valid moves, in other words, so that the ball that you are actually going to spark is on the field. So if I was playing ball 3 and I hit ball 4, and ball 4 becomes an out ball, I have not made a successful touch, technically speaking, because in order for it to be a successful touch, all the balls have to stop as in balls, so that I may complete the spark, and therefore the 10 seconds. Once the balls have stopped moving, the 10 seconds would start again. Number 4, when the right as a stroker end, the stroker shall promptly exit the court. So you must find the shortest path or shortest line to exit the court from. You shouldn't dash across the court in order to get to a side in which your team is on. You should get off the court as quickly as possible, or off the fields as quick as possible, and then move to your respective position next to your ball, or with your other teammates from the moving through the free zone. Moving along, we're up to clause 2, which is time over. And the rules state, number 1, it is a time over foul if the stroker does not stroke or spark within 10 seconds. So, as I discussed, not striking within 10 seconds is a stroking foul. A time over foul. Number 2 says, the following applies in the case of a time over foul. So how do we deal with it? Number 1, any balls that move following the time over foul shall be returned to the positions they were before moving. So, we'll do an example with ball 2 and ball 4 here, for instance. Ball 2 is the ball which has been called to the player who has been called to play. Ball 2 has been called to play. They make a successful touch on ball 4, but they do not spark within the 10 seconds allowed. The referee counts 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. The minute he says the T sound of the 10 seconds, or the beat on which the 10 is said, is an immediate foul, and the referee shall either announce, should he be speaking English, he will announce foul. Should he be speaking in Japanese, he would announce hansoku, which would indicate that there has a time over foul has taken place. So, what does that mean? Well, the ball number 4, which has been moved because it is now currently in the either the player hadn't moved the 4 yet or picked it up after the successful touch because he's playing ball 2, or he has picked up ball 4 and he is standing on ball 2 getting ready to set ball 4, or perhaps it's under his foot and he did not stroke the ball quick enough. So first rule here says that any balls that move following the time over foul shall be returned to the positions they were before moving, which means that should the stroker strike the ball after the referee has announced either foul or hansoku, all the balls that moved as a result of that invalid play shall be put back to the positions they were before they moved. Number 2, if a time over foul takes place during a starting stroke, the stroker's ball shall be placed outside the field. So should the time over foul occur with player number 2 going to stroke his ball in a start stroke in the start area, and he takes more than 10 seconds, that ball is not made an out ball, as we'll see in the next section. It is placed outside the field. And then we need to take note of this little section here that says the stroker's ball shall be placed outside the field. That means that it does not become an out ball, but it can only be placed outside the field if it is in relation to the start stroke or the starting stroke. That basically means that the player is permitted to retry the start stroke again when it's his next turn in the playing order. It is not made an out ball because obviously it has not come onto the field yet. Number 3, the very last one. If a time over foul takes place during a stroker's action on sparking, and we will discuss that in depth later, Article 16, Clause 4, sparking foul 2 shall apply, depending on the situation and time. Right, now, this sparking foul section is incredibly complicated and perhaps will take us the most amount of time of all our videos. So I'm only going to briefly touch on it here. But the general gist of this rule means that any balls moved as a result of the play will be returned to the positions they were before the play, or to their last legal position on the field, or the court, sorry, and that the stroker's ball shall become an out ball closest to the closest line and position that is physically possible. So if the if the foul occurred closest to the second line, then making right angles with the second line, that ball shall become an out ball, and all the other balls shall be put back in their original positions. But we will discuss this, as I said, in depth in a future video. Going on to Clause 3, we see confirmation by the stroker. And it says, a stroker may confirm the following points with the chief referee or assistant referee, making sure that you know that it is only the chief referee or the assistant referee you can ask. You shouldn't ask these to the recorder. The time used for such confirmation by the stroker will not be counted as referee time. And as I said, I will discuss referee time in a future video, but we need to know that it is not counted as referee time. Number 1, regarding a successful pass through a gate. When the outer edge of a stationary ball is on a gate line, whether or not it will make a successful pass through the gate if it moves towards the back side of the gate to completely cross over the gate line. Right, let's go over that a little bit slower. And it says, when the outer edge of a stationary ball is on a gate line. So, we know what the gate line is. It is a line drawn across the gate from the back side of the gate. So if a ball is sitting on that line, you may ask the referee to see whether it is truly sitting on that line. Whether or not it will make a successful pass through the gate if it moves towards the back side of the gate to completely cross over the gate line. This one is just coming back to the fact that a ball must be completely clear of the gate line on the front side of the gate in order to progress from the front side to the back side of the gate so that the gate may be passed correctly. Now that sounds a little bit complicated, but honestly it's a little bit harder to say in words than it is to see. It basically means that the ball cannot be sitting on the gate line and must be fully on the front side of the gate with none of the ball touching the gate line before it can make the gate. Or score the point, in other words. Number 2, whether or not the outer edge of the other ball set for sparking is on the gate line. Now remember, we talked about other balls, or the term other ball or other balls, plural, in a past video. And remember that other balls refer to every single ball on the field or in the outer fields, or on the field includes the outer field, but on the inner field, and on the outer field. So they are every single ball other than the stroker's ball. Every single ball other than the stroker's ball. So whether or not the outer edge of the other ball set for sparking, so we're playing ball 2, and we've touched ball 3, we've made a successful touch, and we're setting ball 3 for sparking. But because of our positioning, we are right near gate 2. And if we were to place ball 3 on the gate line while setting it for a spark, so ball 2 is under our foot and we are setting ball 3, if the ball is on the gate line and it is sparked through the gate, it does not count as a gate for ball 3, as the ball must pass from the front side of the gate to the back side of the gate. It can't cheat, in other words, to go through the gate on its own. So just noting that fact and knowing that you can ask the referee whether or not the ball is, while it's under your foot, obviously it's hard to see. So noting with the referee whether or not that ball is truly on the gate line. Number 2, regarding a successful finish. Whether or not a ball which has successfully passed through the third gate is in contact with the goal pole. That one's relatively self-explanatory. So number 3 is regarding a successful touch, Article 15, Clause 1. The dot point number 1 says there, whether or not the stroker's ball is in contact with the other ball before stroking. That one's really important, as if two balls are in contact before stroking, a touch is automatically made. Therefore, it is important to know whether the balls are actually touching before the stroke so that you may plan your strategy accordingly. Number 2 says, which ball the touch was successfully made with. That one's also incredibly important, as when you hit multiple balls, it may often be difficult to tell which one was first. Not that it honestly matters in most cases, as sparking is conducted in a linear order, and it's relatively straightforward when it comes to something like that. But we do know that when we make multiple touches in one stroke, you may spark the balls in any order you wish in most cases. So we just need to know which ball the touch was successfully made with. Number 4, regarding a contact situation following a successful touch between the stroker's ball and the touched other ball or balls, and a contact situation between the touched ball and other balls. Right, and it subdivides that one, and it says, whether or not there is a contact situation, which means that a ball is in contact with another one, between the stroker's ball and a touched other ball after a touch. Now, that's the one that we were discussing just up here in relation to knowing after a touch whether a ball is in contact with another one. Number 2, whether or not there is a contact situation between the touched ball or balls and other balls or balls after a touch. That one's relatively self-explanatory as well, so we won't dive into that one entirely again. So those are the items in which a player may ask the chief referee or the assistant referee only, not the recorder or linesman, in relation to the state of the game. And it's important to know, as a referee, what you can answer in relation to those things. And these are the things that a referee is permitted to answer if they are asked by the stroker specifically. Well, we thank you very much for tuning into this next video in our series, which was Play and Rights as a Stroker. And we hope to see you on a court sometime soon, and let's play ball!